apparently Titus Frost made a video exposing, it was a 3-hour video. He gave me like a minute and 45 seconds worth. Let me see if I can find it. Let me go to my Twitter feed because somebody posted the link or I wouldn't have heard about it. I wanted to show you because he calls me a shill. Oh, here it is. You're in this person says, you're in this documentary as a shill. There is a lot of names and all the evidence is there. Let me show you the evidence that Titus Frost uses to prove that I'm a shill. Actually, here's exactly what he said because I typed it out. He said, here we have the so-called opposition to Alex Jones. He's talking about me, which is just fake opposition to Alex Jones. You have High Impact Flicks, which is just another grifter who puts out completely disingenuous videos in order to promote the promotional products that he puts on his page. It's the exact same thing as Jim Baker's Buckets or InfoWars Survival Food. First of all, if you don't want to get the stuff that I promote, don't get it. The reason I promote the flashlights and the food and all that kind of stuff is because I use it. I wouldn't promote it if I didn't use it. Like I got these flashlights hanging. Whoops, I just dropped one. There's four of these flashlights hanging off the side of my desk, and the reason I promote them is because I use them. I think these things are great. The reason I promote the survival food is because they use it. Virtual Shield because I use it. I'm not gonna promote anything that I don't personally use. I have to keep the lights on. I got to feed my family and all that kind of stuff, and that's how I do it. So if anybody has a problem with me promoting stuff, tell me what your grievance is. Tell me how it's wrong. Tell me how it's antithetical to freedom. Tell me how it's against the free market. But let me show you.
His question with Alex Jones is...
Let me go to where he talks about me.
In a few hours, there's going to be an event take place.
He tries to couch it in like Jim Baker. Jim Baker is a charlatan because of what he says, not because of what he promotes. I don't know anything about his food. It could be good stuff. It could be good stuff. It's a good idea. I've said on my videos, get your food, get it from Richie from Boston. Get it from RV Truth. These two guys clearly hate me. Get it from wherever. Just make sure you're prepared. Get it from Walmart. Get it from your local grocery store. Get dry rice, dry beans. Get stuff that is not going to go bad, that has a long shelf life. Get it from anywhere. If you want to get it from me, hey, it helps the channel. You don't have to get it from me. I'm not twisting anybody's arm. I don't know how that equates to... I wouldn't even call Jim Baker, as bad as this guy is, because of what he teaches specifically. I don't know. It's weird. So he's going to couch that in this and lump me in with...
And you won't get food for 6 months to a year.
Now, evidence came out during the Sandy Shores trial that is ongoing as I make this documentary from Alex Jones's cell phone that his lawyers accidentally gave over to the same. Alex Jones, turns out, was making $800,000 per day in 2018.
So what? If you can make $800,000 per day, go for it. I mean, he was selling something called InstaHard. He sells his supplements. He sells survival food. So what? I don't hold that against Alex Jones. What's wrong with selling things when you can? If you can use your platform to get out the message and sell things that you believe in or whatever, so what? I don't know what the big deal is. Haters gonna hate, says Dark Phoenix Rising.
Which is quite a substantial amount of money from this online survival grifting nonsense.
Survival grifting nonsense. It's so easy to say, well, it's a grift. Let me look up grift here. It's been a while since I've lived. What is the actual definition of grifter? What's a grifter? A person who engages in petty or small scale swindling. Oh, a grift is swindling. Okay, so what's swindling? Let's look up swindling. Here, let's just do this live. We'll do it live. Swindle. Use deception to deprive someone of money or possessions. The businessman swindled investors out of millions of dollars, obtained money fraudulently. Okay, so the idea of being a grifter is to fraudulently engage in petty or small scale, basically fraud. So calling somebody a grifter is actually saying they're engaged in fraud. They're engaged in deceptive practices. Wow. So when you call somebody a grifter, you better have proof that they're swindling, that they actually are presenting something in a way that is not true. You better be able to back that up. If you can't, you've actually slandered somebody. This is heavy duty, man. A person who engages in petty or small scale swindling. In other words, you're deceiving somebody into believing something that is not true.
And here we have the so-called opposition to Alex Jones, which is just fake opposition to Alex Jones.
I don't know I don't know what he means by that. So I don't think I've ever called myself, hey, I'm the opposition to Alex Jones. Am I opposed to Alex Jones? Yes. What is the reason I'm against Alex Jones? Is it because he makes $800,000 a day on Instahard and supplements and survival food? No, I'm against him because he's against us. I'm against him because he promotes people that are for Big Pharma, even though he claims to be against, Alex Jones claims to be against Big Pharma. That's ironclad. That's objective. That is something that you can look at with your own eyes and go, wow, that's true. Donald Trump was bailed out by the Rothschilds banking cartel, per Donald Trump, per Wilbur Ross, back in the 1990s with Taj Mahal, to the tune of, some say, close to $1 billion. I've seen 450, I've seen 600 billion. But the bottom line is the Rothschilds International Banking Cartel, Rothschilds Inc., under Wilbur Ross, bailed Donald Trump out. So Donald Trump becomes president 25 years later, and who does he make the Treasury or the Commerce Secretary? Wilbur Ross, Mr. Rothschild. Who does he make the Treasury Secretary? Steve Mnuchin, Mr. Goldman Sachs. So he's clearly for the bankers. He's clearly for corporate interests. He wrote a $6.2 trillion check to basically Big Pharma, a pittance of which we got that we're going to have to pay taxes on. He's completely against the American people. He rang up the national debt. He filled the coffers of the military industrial complex. But this Donald Trump is the very Donald Trump that Alex Jones promoted for years. I confronted Alex Jones about these things. Hey, why did he institute censorship on college campuses? Why did Donald Trump institute censorship on the college campuses under the guise of stamping out anti-Semitism? He goes, well, I don't have a really answer. I think you made a mistake on that. That's not just a mistake. You have a president who's directly against the First Amendment, freedom of speech on college campuses. Why did he approve and endorse the red flag laws in his administration? Well, I have a real answer for that. That shows that he's an enemy of the people. So if you support a guy who's an enemy of the people and you keep on supporting him, and this was in January of 2020 before they declared the planned organized partial shutdown of the U.S. economy in the second quarter, then he became Operation Warp Speed. And by his own admission, Trump calls himself the father of the VAXX. That's objective stuff that you can go through. You don't have to take my word for it. Just look at the clips from Donald Trump. He's clearly not on your side. He clearly rang up the national debt, which means that he instituted further transgenerational debt slavery against your children, your grandchildren, and their grandchildren. And Alex Jones promoted that. There's so many things. We haven't even scratched the surface on Alex Jones. Plus, he's pro-ISRA HE-double hockey sticks. So is Donald Trump. If you're pro-HE-double hockey sticks, you're anti-American. You're anti-American, period, because those people hate our guts. They want to control us. They put stuff in our computers so they can spy on us. They train our police forces. So these are objective things, but Titus Frost won't come up with anything objective but call me a grifter because I sell survival food. So what? Jim Baker sells survival food. So what? What does he teach? And then he says in this quote, you have High Impact Flicks, which is just another grifter who puts out completely disingenuous videos.
You have High Impact Flicks, which is just another grifter who puts out completely disingenuous videos in order to promote the promotional products that he puts on his page. It's the exact same thing as Jim Baker's Buckets or InfoWars survival food.
It's the exact same thing as Jim. So he puts me on the same plane as Alex Jones and Jim Baker, trying to make me look bad, even though in selling survival food, Jim Baker has done nothing wrong. Alex Jones has done nothing wrong. Compla 12 says Trump pushed Abbott Labs too. Exactly. Remember when he did that unboxing for the Abbott Labs rapid test kit? Remember that? A president of the United States literally becomes a big farm guy representative in front of the American people. How shameful can you get? And that is the Donald Trump that people are endorsing, specifically Alex Jones. And that's what makes Alex Jones bad, because he's pushing evil. Here, vote for evil so that we can make our world good. That makes no sense. Vote for this guy who's clearly in the back pocket of the international banking cartel. That makes no sense. Vote for this guy who clearly put billions upon billions, maybe even trillions of dollars into the pockets of the big farm guy, specifically Pfizer, who is known for corrupt marketing practices, bribing physicians, and suppressing adverse trial results at a minimum.
All right, before you watch this video, some very serious stuff is going on.
323 million people are without power for how long? Days, weeks, months? Just make sure you're ready.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? People in Mississippi right now, 160,000, at least 160,000 of them have water that they can't even bathe in. And there was a news bulletin put out a week ago. Don't even touch the water. Don't let it land on your skin is how bad it was. And now it's like, well, we got the pumps up and running. Well, if you take a shower, make sure your mouth is closed. You don't want that sewage inside of you while you're showering yourself in sewage. Be ready. Be prepared. Have a stash so that you're not sitting waiting in a line with all the other lemmings who didn't prepare.
Guys,
And prepare it however you want to. You don't have to buy the survival food from me. This is free market. Amazing, Titus. I don't even know. And then Titus wants to debate me. How can I debate somebody who says that I put out completely disingenuous videos with no proof? What's the basis for the debate? Why would I put myself in that situation? Why would I put my audience in that situation? What is there to gain from that? A fool finds no pleasure in understanding, but in delights in airing his own opinions.
we already know that they want to decimate the dollar, destroy the economy, bring us into a cashless society, and eventually make it difficult for us to even get food.
Shit's all fucked up. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
That's pretty funny, actually.
That's why I constantly promote My Patriot Supply. Every chance
That's disingenuous. Stuff's messed up. Make sure you like it. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. Make sure you like and subscribe, which is totally different from, hey, guess what? The World Economic Forum is intending to cut off your food supply. Bill Gates is intending to buy up more farmland, 269,000 acres so far. They are intending to go to the CBDCs, the central bank digital currency. Make sure you got gold, silver, something to barter with. Make sure you got plenty of guns and ammo or whatever. If I had an ammo distributor who's going to give my audience a good deal on ammo or a personal protection device, you better believe I would push it. Why? Because it would benefit me, and hey, it'll benefit you. Can you get your guns and your ammo from somewhere else? Sure. Go ahead. Free market. It's amazing. This is called capitalism.
I get, I turn my fiat currency notes into long-term storable food. This stuff is awesome. It's got a 25-year shelf life.
We could look back and say yesterday was the last day to order and get prepared.
This offer comes with 22 buckets, plus a bonus of 6 additional buckets for a total of 28 buckets.
It's time to stop submitting to this tyranny. It's time to realize that we're being enslaved. Uh-oh, it's our tax dollars at work. Protect us from ourselves. Hey guys, I used to be one of you. Stop selling out your own species.
So the next big obvious question with Alex Jones is...
So he goes back to Alex Jones. So he puts me in there. Grifter, just take our word for it. Brian's a grifter. Let's see. Somebody said, the Wave Slave says, don't give this guy the glory of being mentioned. I know. I just feel like, I don't know. It's a catch-22 for me because some members of my audience said, hey, look what Titus said about you. Can you say something? Because, and then other people, and I understand both sides. I agree with both sides. And then, like the Wave Slave said, which I don't disagree with, don't give this guy the glory of being mentioned. It's kind of like you're in a catch-22. It's like, but I want to show people, like, even like, guys, when I put out a video, I'm teaching myself just like, teaching my audience. I'm learning along with you guys. This solidified in my mind what it really means when somebody says Candace Owens is a grifter or Brian Young's a grifter or Alex Jones is a grifter, and then they give the reason for the grift. Now, if you can show me how I use deceptive tactics, which would include me saying something that's not true about this product or it's horrible or whatever, if you get a bum flashlight from that company, I know for a fact you can send it back to them and they'll send you a replacement one. Those things happen. But if you can come up with, hey, you ordered they ordered this food, they said it was 240 servings, it was really 195 servings. Yeah, that would be deceptive practices. Hey, they said it was going to be $199. It ended up costing me $350. That's deceptive practices. That would be a grift. A person who engages in petty or small scale, basically fraud. So when they call you when somebody calls another person a grifter, they're saying they're being a fraud, and you better have evidence to back it up, or it's slander. It's slander if you speak it. It's libel if you write it. Now, will I sue Titus? I'm not going to sue Titus Frost for slander, but it is slander. It's slander, Titus. I don't know if it makes you feel good or whatever. Thank you, Kumpel. I appreciate it. I left Mr. Frost a comment on one of his Odyssey videos pointing out the fact of peddling nonsense using your name for views. Been twisted. Thanks for doing that. And I would just request, I'm not telling anybody to do anything, but my request would be, if you're going to reach out to detractors, and I don't mind detractors. I don't mind criticism if it's substantiated and it's constructive. I just think that destructive criticism, like you see on this video right here, and I honestly only scrubbed through this to look for my, his mention of me. I didn't see any more of where I came up. There could be more. This is a 3-hour long video. I wasn't really interested in sitting down and watching it. But this is the guy who wants to debate me, and I'm not interested in debating somebody who's clearly, demonstrably, objectively being disingenuous by saying that I put out disingenuous videos. So, my request is, if you go over there, let's just do it in the spirit of kindness, Do it with, and I'm not saying don't be assertive or whatever. I'm just saying let's kind of try to stop the ugliness in this world. Dark Phoenix Rising says, Brian, don't give him airtime, bro. This is your show. Followers like me that have been with you years know the truth of the great person you are. That's super humbling. I really appreciate that. I appreciate all you guys. Just thanks, Kelsey Kish. I appreciate that. The Way Slave, he reached out to argue because you argued with him before. You exponentiate his views just by saying his name. Yeah, that's the catch-22. I mean, it's the same with that other guy. What's his name? I'll leave him nameless too. But he really wants to bait me. All I got to say is, hey, Titus and other guy, thanks for the views, I guess, because I constantly see him in the comment section, trying to drum up stuff, and they're getting likes. I don't know if they're liking from sock accounts or people are actually genuinely liking their stuff, but it's always baseless. Did you talk to Plato and Socrates about what their definition of anarchy is? It's like, I don't have to. I just look up the etymology of the term anarchy. And is there any... Anarchy is a scary word, I understand, because we live in a society that painted that word to mean chaos when it isn't. It's just without rulers. So let me just ask people about anarchy and let's say voluntarism. How do you want to interact with your fellow human beings? Do you want your fellow human beings to force you to do things against your will that you don't want to do because they think it's going to be good for you? Or would you rather have mutual, respectable, voluntary cooperation? Because that's how normal human beings operate. I mean, you don't go to work and then grab your fellow employees by the collar and say, I want you to clean that toilet. I want you to serve me coffee. If you don't do it, I'm going to punish you. I'm going to lock you in the break room if you don't do it. No way. Nobody wants anybody to interact with them like that. But that's what the government does. Government's not eloquence, it's not reason, it's force. And like fire, it's a dangerous servant and a fearful master. Government is force. Government is slavery. Anarchy is freedom. So when somebody comes up with the question, show me one society that's ever worked under an anarchist, mindset or a construct. Well, first of all, define worked. What do you mean worked? Do you mean worked like at the end of it, we're going to have a Federal Reserve who issues the currency and determines its value and puts us $31 trillion worth of debt? Is that working? Because that happened under the Constitution. Do you mean having a domestic terror cell who will actually send men with guns to your house because you didn't give them what they thought you owed them? Because that happened under the Constitution. That didn't happen under anarchy. And another thing is this idea of like everything that the state does, everything under the regime of the state is wrong. There's a lot of things under the state that is actually anarchy that they co-opted. Like, for example, a supermarket. Larkin Rose gives the example of a supermarket. There are tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of vendors who grow the food or produce the kitchenware or make the toilet paper or just fill in the blank. You got dog food. You've got yogurt. You've got peanut butter. The peanut farmers grow the peanuts and they send it to a factory and it creates peanut butter. You've got Wrigley's Spearmint gum. You've got Snickers. You've got magazines. You've got clothing, all coming together in one store. And nobody forced them to bring that to market. They were motivated by one thing. And what is that one thing that they were motivated under the free market? As free as it can be under a Federal Reserve, a fiat currency system. The motive was profit. Hey, I discovered that I can create spearmint gum better than extra spearmint gum. And I'm going to bring that to market and we'll just compete and we'll put them on the shelves and we'll see who buys what. And then they have vendors who go and they put it at eye level because that's what the advertising dictates, that if it's at this level right here, you're going to get this many sales. People growing coffee, people farming fish, people have these chicken processing plants, a whole range. That's anarchy in motion. And what was it motivated by? By, hey, maybe I can make some money so that I can better my life. What was it called? It was called, what was the name of that Larkin Rose video? It was something called, I don't remember what the name of that video was. If somebody can put that Larkin Rose video up, it's really actually pretty good. So the question is not, show me a society that has successfully run by, an anarchist mindset. First of all, what's successful? What's good? What do you call good? Because a lot of bad things have happened under the Constitution. Which that brings us back to Lysander Spooner. Whether the Constitution be one thing or the other, this much is certain. It's either authorized this tyrannical, bloated, out of control surveillance state as we have, or it's been powerless to stop it. In either case, it's unfit to exist. Where did all this stuff come from? How did it happen? It happened under rule of law. It happened under the social contract. It happened under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Do you think any politician on Capitol Hill gives a damn about your right to be secure in your person's houses, papers, and effects because we have a Fourth Amendment? No, not at all. You think they care about your Second Amendment right to own, keep and bear arms, which shall not be infringed? You think they think twice or lose any sleep about infringing on that? Absolutely not. But that all happened under the Constitution. It did not happen under anarchy. So define good. Define a successful society. There's no society under anarchy. Then why are you living your life under anarchy? Do you, Titus Frost, or anybody out there, do you live your life forcing people to do something against their will and without their consent? Because that's what government is. If you don't we just made something illegal today. Oh yeah, what's illegal? Jack Daniels. It's April 1920, and we just instituted the Prohibition Act. Now, for the next 13 years, it's going to be illegal for you to buy, sell, possess, and transport alcohol because our political overlord said so. That happened under the Constitution. That happened under the Declaration of Independence, right to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness. That's not an anarchist idea. That's a government idea. And what is that called when a man tells another man, you can't own that, and if I catch you with it, if I catch you with that bottle of whiskey, I'm going to throw you into a rape cage? That's government. Does anarchy do that? No, because anarchy says, I don't want rulers, and I will treat others the way I want to be treated, and there ain't no way, just because I disagree with what they possess, I'm going to take away that person's freedom. That's what anarchy is. Anarchy is literally the moral high ground. And if somebody makes the argument of, but it's not going to work, it won't work. But is it right? Is it right? Should you take a pragmatic view? Should you take a pragmatic view? Or should you take a righteous view? Is it right or wrong? Because if it's wrong, you shouldn't do it. Why? Because it's wrong. If it's right, you should do it. Why? Because it's right. Doesn't matter if it works or not. And we all know that it does because you're an anarchist. I'm an anarchist. We don't want rulers telling us what we can or can't do for our own good. So it's this idea that Titus has of resisting the fact, the truth. They're resisting righteousness. It's a resistance of righteousness to want a government. Oh, we just want a limited government. Well, what is government? It's slavery. It's the idea that these people who are government have the right to rule you. And if you say anything about it, if you complain, if you air your grievances, we're going to censor you, we're going to handcuff you, we're going to kidnap you, and we're going to cage you, and then we're going to fine you to top it all off. Or we'll fine your family. Some way we're going to get money out of you. So it's force, coercion, threats, violence. That's what the state is. Do you see that in anarchy? It's just voluntarism. Oh, you don't want to engage in this? Fine, that's all right. Oh, you don't want to engage in it? I'm going to regulate you and you're going to pay, buddy. You think under anarchy that you're going to be telling your neighbor, oh, I know you paid off your house, but every year you're going to have to pay us property taxes so that we can go off to war. Government is slavery. And if you want limited government, are you really saying you want limited slavery? This argument holds up. It sounds old and tired, but when somebody says, oh, anarchy will never work, an anarchist society will never work. That'd be like being in the 1800s saying a society without slaves will never work. Because from the 1800s, before the 1800s, you always, in every nation, had slavery. That's how they got things done. That's how they brought crops to market. That's how clothing was made. That's how everything was done. You traded slaves, you used the slaves died, and you got more slaves. That's just the way it was. So for somebody to come along and say, there's no example in the history of mankind where an anarchist society will work. You could have said that in the 1800s. There's no situation in no country at no time period on this earth where there weren't slaves. So we can't do it. But the question is slavery right or wrong? Is owning somebody against their will, telling them what to do when they don't want to do it or where to go when they don't want to go there, which is slavery, is that right or wrong? The question shouldn't be, well, we can't do without slaves. Who will pick the cotton? Without slaves, how could I have this nice, soft cotton that keeps me warm at night and comfortable during the day? Without slaves, we can't have this. But is it right to have slaves? What are you willing to sacrifice to get rid of your slaves? To do what's right? That's the question, Titus. Anarchy is right. Why? Because it just says, hey, I don't want rulers, and I would not dare vote for a ruler to rule you. Voluntarism. What's wrong with just doing right? Whether you think it's going to work or not. It does work. But whether it works or not, how about let's just do what's right and let the chips fall where they may, and then I can rest my head on the pillow at night with a clear conscience knowing that I just did right. And I wasn't looking for limited slavery, and I wasn't looking for limited right to rule, and I wasn't looking for limited violence, because that's what government is. Government is violence. You want limited violence? That's what you're saying when you want limited government. But it'll never work. No one is more enslaved than those who falsely believe they're free. And you guys got to know, I know you guys know, whoever's listening to the sound of my voice right now, you got to know that on some level, you are a slave. You're a slave to the system. And so the whole trick is how do we get out of this slave system? How do we work our way out with minimal damage to us and our families? Because when you try to withdraw from the system, it's almost like, hey, look, I don't want any part of this conversation. I don't consent to this conversation. You try to walk away and they tackle you and forcefully bring you back into a conversation that you don't want to have. That's exactly what you are treated like a criminal if you try to walk away from government. Is that good? Is that moral? Is that right? What the heck is going on here? You would think if we were in a group of people and you just try, it's like, hey, I don't want any part of this conversation. You try to walk away and two of your friends tackled you and beat you and forcibly brought you against your will back to the conversation. The people who saw that play out would think, why did you guys just do that? Why did you execute violence on Brian? He just wanted to walk away. Oh, and if you don't let them steal your money, i.e. taxation, you're a tax evader. You're the evil one because you didn't give the purse snatcher your purse, Aunt Sally. You're evil. And this idea that we're all the governments, consent to the government. consent to the govern. A government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth. Hey, Abraham Lincoln said it. He was a great guy, right? It's like saying of the carjacker, by the carjacker, for the carjacker, of the kidnapper, by the kidnapper, for the kidnapper. You really want to be a part of that scenario? I don't. So the question is, the bottom line is it right or is it wrong? If it's wrong, you stop doing it. Why? Because it's wrong. It's self-evident. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men were created equal. I'm not above you. You're not above me. All right. Anyway, that's my soapbox. I'm done. Guys, I appreciate you joining. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to High Impact Flicks. Here's the Deal, which is my police accountability channel, and Grease Monkey Videos, which has all these channels have different content on them. So Here's the Deal is my small channel. Grease Monkey Videos is small, and High Impact Flicks is supposedly the big channel, but hardly gets any views. So subscribe there. Also subscribe to my alternative sites on Odyssey and BitChute and Rumble and the other places. Those links are in the description under this video. If you want to support the channel, grab one of these designs. We got like 100 crazy designs, and just know that the designs that are there today might not be there tomorrow. By the way, there's 15% off everything in the store until through the 5th, through September 5th. 15% off of everything. And if you go to a design that looks like it's there, sometimes what happens is like people get a design that they haven't gotten for a long, that hasn't sold yet. And then they'll reject it because of, whatever. It violates our community guidelines. That's how they kick me off of Teespring. Anyway, I appreciate you guys being here. I will see you in the next heavily censored shadow ban video.